My grandfather was an earnest. My grandma said they wouldn't let him come home. He stayed in hospital one whole, unwhole year after the war was done, wounded in his head. No blood, no bruise, no eyes gone, not deaf, just wounded in his head. Not deaf to shells still breaking in his head, not blind to the lights still flashing in his head, but bloody in his head, bruised and wounded in his head. They kept him a long, long time in hospital. At this far distance, God knows why, no one now who we can ask why. So many secrets kept the old quiet folk. So many wounds in, oh, so many heads. Was he too dangerous to be let go, or risky to himself, or risky in his truth? When his French trench collapsed and he was buried in the mud and blood and finally dug out, at first they didn't see that wound, but soon they saw it. That wound that ached his days, throbbed his nights, kept him screaming and buried. My grandma said when her Ernest came home, he was not out of his tomb. Lovely, but without joy ever again. And many wives of many other Ernsts might say the same. And many wives of all the Fredericks and Friedrichs and Johns and Johanns, the Henrys and Heinrichs, who came home safe, but with that wound in the head. This poem is true. It's about my grandfather. He was trench buried, and in those days post-traumatic stress was called shell shock. And he didn't come home for a whole year. He was in mental hospital, and we still have the letters that they wrote to one another during that time. Of course, we remember those who died, but something died in many, many of those men during that time, and in marriages, and in relationships, and in the ways that people were brought up. And I think that was a great loss too. Thank you.